Have you ever ignored a quiet feeling inside you, only to discover later that it was right all along? Perhaps you accepted a job that looked perfect on paper. Perhaps you trusted someone even though something felt slightly off. Perhaps you stayed in a situation longer than you wanted to because logic told you it was the correct choice. And then, later, when things became more difficult, you found yourself thinking, I knew it. I felt it from the beginning. But if you knew, why didn't you listen? That question sits at the center of tonight's conversation, because many of us trust logic completely. We analyze, we compare, we collect evidence. And yet there are moments when something deeper seems to know the answer before our conscious mind catches up. Welcome to Calm English. Tonight, we are exploring the language of intuition. Not only how intuition works, but how to describe it in English with confidence and precision. Let's begin with a simple word. A hunch. A hunch is a feeling that something is true even when you cannot fully explain why. Imagine meeting someone for the first time. They seem friendly. They say all the right things. Everyone else likes them. But you have a hunch that something is not quite right. You cannot point to evidence. You cannot prove anything. You simply feel it. That is a hunch. Now here is something interesting. Why do we often ignore these feelings? Why do we trust logic more than intuition? Part of the answer is that logic sounds convincing. Logic speaks loudly. Intuition whispers. And whispers are easy to dismiss. Imagine you are standing at a crossroads in life. Two opportunities appear. One offers security. The other feels exciting but uncertain. Your logical mind immediately begins creating lists. Pros, cons, risks, benefits. But underneath all of that analysis, there is a quieter signal, a subtle pull toward one direction. This brings us to another useful phrase, a gut feeling. A gut feeling is an instinctive sense that something is right or wrong. You might say, I had a gut feeling that I should leave. I had a gut feeling that something wasn't right. Notice how natural that sounds. Native speakers use this expression constantly because it captures something difficult to explain logically. Scientists have discovered that your brain processes enormous amounts of information without conscious awareness. Tiny facial expressions, changes in tone of voice, patterns from past experiences, details you don't actively notice. Your conscious mind may miss them, but your nervous system does not. Sometimes intuition is not magic. It is information that has not yet reached language. Think about that. Information that has not yet reached language. Perhaps that is why intuition feels mysterious. Your body understands something before your words do. Now consider another expression. To sense. Not to know, not to prove, to sense. I sensed tension in the room. I sensed that she was uncomfortable. I sensed that something was changing. This vocabulary allows you to communicate uncertainty with sophistication, because life is rarely black and white. Often we sense things before we understand them, and perhaps that is where many of our regrets begin. Think back to a time when your intuition spoke quietly. Maybe it suggested slowing down. Maybe it suggested walking away. Maybe it suggested taking a chance. Did you listen? Or did you explain it away? Many people spend years second-guessing themselves. They stop trusting their inner compass because they believe certainty should come first. But certainty rarely arrives before action. Sometimes clarity comes afterward. This brings us to one final phrase: an inner voice. Your inner voice is the quiet guidance that exists beneath noise, fear, pressure, and expectation. It is often calm. It is often simple. And it rarely shouts. The challenge is not hearing it. The challenge is creating enough silence to notice it. So tonight, before you sleep, consider this question. What if intuition is not the opposite of logic? What if intuition is information before language? What if your gut feeling is simply your deeper mind recognizing a pattern before your conscious mind understands it? Perhaps intuition and logic are not enemies. Perhaps they are partners. One sees quickly, the other explains slowly. And wisdom may come from learning when to trust each one. As you relax tonight, allow these words to settle naturally into your mind. A hunch, a gut feeling, to sense, an inner voice. Not just vocabulary, but ways of describing experiences that every human being understands. And perhaps the next time that quiet whisper appears, you will have both the language and the confidence to listen.